I'll take the spring off the spring winder and move it around a little bit because we don't need that now. I'll clean up the other mainspring offline later on. This is the grease we're going to use today. It's very good quality grease, and I use it on all my mainsprings, on clocks, not on watches. You've got to use a thin oil on watches. This is too thick, it'll clog the system up. Alright, so simple way we do it, we get a bit of grease, we get some grease. I'm using a toothpick, and then we run round each one of these coils just on one side. We don't do both sides of the coil, because once the coil is compressed, the grease spreads out and touches the other side and gets a complete layer of grease all the way around. So we start off in towards the center as far as we can go, and then just slowly wipe some grease round. Doesn't matter if you put too much on, you don't need a huge amount excessively, but once we compress the spring later on, then any excess grease will be forced out, which we'll wipe off the top, and the spring will be properly greased. Right, I'll just continue going round on our coils one at a time. The bit of a blob there, I'll take that off, we don't want that. That can go inside that coil. And methodically work your way around, covering as much of each coil as you can. Take that excess off. Now we're down towards the end of the mainspring now. We'll put some grease on that, and a little bit more over here, I think. Doesn't take long to do, but as with all things working with clocks, slowly and meticulously is the way you do it. There's no fast, easy fixes when working with mechanical clocks. Alright, the mainspring is now greased, so we're now going to, I'll remove the grease. We're now going to put the spring back into the sleeve we had it on a few moments ago. I'll just clamp the spring winder down so it doesn't walk around the bench. Right, here's our sleeve, we've still got that here. Take up our mainspring, put the winding arbor into the chuck and tighten it down. Once again, get our hook, put that into the end of the mainspring. Want to learn more about repairing mechanical clocks? Become a Scotties Clock World member. No more annoying video ads ever, because all members' videos are ad-free. Choose either a Patreon or YouTube membership. Both memberships enjoy the same perks. Join up links are in the description below. Change the orientation of the spring winder, and that holds it in place almost. Yes, it does. Put the safety on. A bit of pressure on that at the moment, so that's why it's being hard to get on with. There we go. Tighten it down. Now continue winding. You can see there excess grease starting to come out, which is good. It means that the spring has been covered completely. We'll wind that down to about there. Now, while we've got the spring in that condition, we'll wipe off the excess grease on both sides. Off there and off this side. You can see how the grease gets squeezed out as we tighten the spring down. Alright, once again, we check that the sleeve will fit over the mainspring, and when we do, we push this face of the sleeve in under, a little bit more in under the spring. Wipe that bit of grease off, and then you can see here where the sleeve is level with the top of the slot on the mainspring. We want to turn the sleeve up about half an inch or a bit less. That'll give us room to move once the sleeve goes back into the barrel, because that hole there has to connect to that pin there, and it won't if the end of the sleeve is sitting right down there. It'll be in the road. Alright, so there we go. Make sure that your sleeve is at the end of the mainspring. You don't want your sleeve sitting up here or sitting back there. It has to align there because it's got to fit, as I said, into the bottom of the barrel. And if the sleeve comes out higher than being level there, then it will sit proud on that face there, and the hook will not be able to catch in the hole in the mainspring. Alright, quick wipe of hands. Now reverse the flow of the spring winder and slowly let it wind down, and there it goes. I'll take that out of under the chuck, take the spring out, a little bit more grease there because it's a little bit tighter. Wipe that off, we don't want the excess in the movement. And there's some down in there. The easiest way to remove that is with cotton buds. Just wipe it down, run it round inside. I'll use the other end also, and that just removes that. Alright, so that mainspring now is ready to go back into the clock once the parts are being cleaned and we've checked out the pivot bushing orientations and made sure that they're all right, and then it'll be ready to go back into the clock movement. Alright, I'll do the other one off camera, and then we'll be ready to put the parts into the ultrasonic cleaner, which is the next step. Alright, the parts are now ready to go into the ultrasonic cleaner. You'll notice that I've removed the hammer, which has got leather in it, from the hammer lever, because we don't want to fill that up with ultrasonic cleaner fluid, so I've taken that off. Alright, here are the parts, they're all ready to go in now. I'll start off by putting the plates in and get them settled down so that they're under the level of the fluid in the cleaner. Now we'll put the rest of the parts in. First up, we'll put in the pendulum bob, pillar nuts, motion works, stroke side wheels, going side wheels, the back cock, which is large enough, I hope, not to fall out through the bottom, the ratchet from the stroke side. What I've done there is I've put 2 pieces of brass wire in it so I know it comes from the stroke side, and the crutch and the pendulum leader. Alright, they're all ready to go in now. I'll put them in for 3 minutes and then clean them up outside and then bring them back. We can have a look and see what condition they're in. Parts are back from the ultrasonic cleaner now. We'll take them out and have a look at them, and then we'll peg out the plates, but they don't look too bad actually. They may be pretty good. Going side parts, scape wheel. The scape wheel is one you've got to keep a pretty close eye on because it tends to be one that damages most frequently, and you often find that teeth are slightly out of alignment on the escape wheel, and we'll check that with a straight edge once we undo them. Stroke side parts, not looking too bad. Front plate come up rather nicely. We'll check the bushings on that also in a moment, see what condition they're in. Our pendulum bob, put him aside. The pillar nuts, I'll take them out, drop them into a tray so we've got easy access to them. What else have we got? Motion works parts and the ratchet from the going side train, which we'll put aside in a moment. the ratchet from the strike side train. You'll remember we put 2 pieces of brass wire in it so we knew which was which. Backcock, put that over there. Pallets and the crutch. There's a slight mark on, actually on both edges of the pallets. We'll stone them before we put them back in again. Not very much, just a little bit. There's a little bit of a groove there to remove, and the pendulum leader that someone's had a look at and put a couple of bends in it. So we'll check that also when we get back. Right, I'll start opening these up now. We'll do the ratchet from the strike side first. We can put that over there in the suitably marked container. And I'll put that aside in our box of parts because we don't need that for the moment. I'll remove the Motion Works parts.
These consist of the snail with the attached hour wheel and the separate minute wheel.
I'll remove the snail and the minute wheel, those 2 pieces there, put them over there. That's the ratchet from the going side train. Pop him into his box, suitably marked, put it over there, out of the road, both the plates, and I'll put the pendulum bob into our box of goodies over there, and then we'll get onto the trains. Starting off with a strike side train. I'll put them into our foam block so we know where they go. We'll adjust the orientation of them later on. We just want them in the correct position at the moment. That's our warning wheel with its pin on it. The fly goes there. Now the going side train, cut that off. Escape wheel at the top, and then that wheel, and then the first wheel goes down there. Alright, put those aside. Now I'll clean up my mess here. Then we'll start to peg out the bushes on the plates. I'll sharpen this piece of pegwood, as you can see. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm rolling the tip around on a 600 mesh sanding stick. That makes it nice and smooth, so that we can now check out the bushings and see what condition they're in. We'll start off with the front actually. Alright, we'll check out each one, and in between inserting the pegwood and spinning it round, we take it out and have a look to see if there's any oil or grease or dirt still left inside the bushing, and so far they seem to be alright. Go down here. No, they're looking alright actually. And if they're that good on that side, they're probably going to be that good on the other side, I would think. But we'll check a few first and before we make that assumption. Yep, that's alright. Do this guy down here. Spinning rather freely, that's very nice. I'll pull that back a little bit. We'll check this one up here behind the gathering pallet. Alright, they all look pretty good. Now for the back plate, it's easier to get at the bushes here because there's no wheels still left in the plate. But not only do they look clean, they seem to be pretty round. They're not particularly bent out of shape, which is a rather pleasant option in this operation. But we'll find out once I put the trains back in, which I'll do in a moment. And then we'll be able to see. No, they all look pretty good. Alright, where's our PVC support? Put that over there.